guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be taking a look at this T6 facelift, so it's T6.1 Volkswagen Transporter. So right off the bat, this is actually quite unfamiliar territory for me. I'm not used to driving something or a vehicle this large, and yeah, this is a pretty big vehicle. This is a long wheelbase transporter, so this is actually the T6.1, which is the facelift T6, so probably the last of the Transporter T6s. This car has been modified by Corne Motors from factory, so the owner actually got Corne Motors to basically purchase this car. They keep calling it a car, that's another thing I'll get to in a minute. The owner of this vehicle approached Corne Motors and said, I want a solid grey Transporter T6.1 and I want you to modify it for me. So what Corne Motors do is they order the car, eventually they get it in because the lead times on these cars at the minute are very long, and then they get to work on doing these subtle modifications that are requested by the owner. So they actually build them to the spec of the owner. And for this car, it's had quite a few things done. You'll notice straight away that this is far meaner and far more aggressively stanced than a normal transporter, and that is because this car is on B14 Bilsteins. They're adjustable coilovers, and at the minute the van rides pretty low. It fills out the arches really nicely, also complemented by the 19-inch Bowler wheels. These Bowler 19-inch wheels are finished in a lovely matte black, which really complements the solid gloss grey colour that you see on the car. Van. Underneath the wheels we've got front and rear discs, and at the front we've got these huge Revo brakes and discs. And they actually stop the car really well. I need to stop calling it a car. Right, let's clear this up. I keep referring it to as a car because when you're sat inside this thing, it feels like a Golf. So you're higher up, you know you've got the van behind you, but it drives and feels like a car. And that is one of the things I think that people like about the Transporter so much, especially the more modern ones, is they're a car or a van, if you like. They're the crossover, but they offer the practicality of a van, that if you need the space at the back, you can use it. Also at the front of the car, we've got this gloss black and grey accents and all the bumper plastics, and this is actually a Highline T6, which is why it's got the more aggressive body kit at the front, and then you've got the spoiler at the back, etc. You've got all these subtle, sporty kind of nuances about the car that really add up to it being and looking really special. But now the van is warmed up, I can put it into sport, and I've got to say, it does go. This is a diesel van, but it's the 200 PS or 199 PS variant, and it goes really well. In fact, it goes so well it almost feels like it shouldn't go this well. Bearing in mind, of course, that the owner actually specified to Corne Motors that they didn't want anything in the back of the van. So at the back, at the back of this van, all you can see is the ply lining that was specified, and it's so fresh and so new. In fact, this van has only done 502 miles. It smells like an IKEA kind of flat pack furniture in the back because of the ply lining and stuff. And overall it's just a really, really fresh, lovely place to be. So we've got the adjustable coilovers that make the stance of the van really quite aggressive. We've got the Bowler wheels that kind of add to that, the big brakes, and exterior wise, other than the front bumper, that's probably about it. There's some other geeky stuff actually that kind of is crossover between the interior and the exterior, which is the rear camera. That's been retrofitted and at the request of the owner, and this van will mainly be used to tow trailers or to be taken to shows for OEM Plus, who actually own the van. And it makes sense. This is a long wheelbase transporter, and it's pretty beneficial when you're reversing to have that extra added safety and reassurance of the rear camera. The gloss black paintwork that Corne have added to the front of the vehicle as well really sets it off quite nicely against the grey colour. I think it's the perfect colour combo in my opinion. Of course, all of these modifications and even the standard T6 these days has become like a really sought after vehicle, but this is nothing new. Volkswagen have been producing the Transporter series for probably the best part of 2 or 3 decades now, and they've always been popular. Even the older vehicles now are obviously referred to as classics and are actually sought after and command quite a high price. And even these actually command quite a high price because of the, I guess it's a case of supply and demand here. People desire these cars. Volkswagen are putting them out as fast as they can, but there is a backlog, and because of that, the prices remain consistently high. and for good reason, in all fairness. I can see why people love these so much, but I'll be honest, I think they look cooler than any other van you can get. And there might be Ford's Mountune Series Transit, I think they do. I don't know too much about that. That could be the only thing that I could liken to being this cool or sporty from factory. But that's probably not got the build quality that the Transporter has. And that's where we come onto the Transporter's best bit, if you like, which is the interior of the vehicle. As I said before, it's a bit like driving a Golf, really. It really is. It's like being in the GTD that I reviewed not long ago. You've got all these lovely inputs on the steering wheel. You've got your infotainment centre in the middle of the dashboard here. You've got your dash, which is all very Volkswagen, and that's quite nice. You feel very at home in this van. You sometimes even forget that you've got such a long wheelbase behind you and such a massive vehicle that you're behind, because it really does give the impression that it's such a usable everyday vehicle. And I'll probably start referring to it as vehicle from now on, because I seem to be able to get that one right instead of calling it a car. Inside as well, it's had a few different things added. As I mentioned, you've got the rear camera fitted. You've also got these lovely Bentley style stitched seats. Now that was, I believe you can actually get covers for these to look like this, but these are the real deal. These were actually put in by Corne Motors. They're an optional extra. They're about £1,200 and something pounds, and they look the business. They look really, really nice. So they've got that cross-stitched, sporty look that you would normally get in a Continental GT car. And yeah, it's just a really nice touch. I really like them. They're also quite comfy too. That's always nice. They're not just nice to look at, they're actually nice to sit in. So that's a bonus. Once you get going, it's beautiful to drive. It actually feels pretty sharp. I'm not going to go down the road of saying that it's got a nice turn in and that it's a joy in the corners, because it's not, but that's not really what this is built for. Which brings me on to my next thing. Part of me feels that this van is so nice that it almost is too good for its purpose. You would normally buy one of these to do your daily work. You'd use it as a workhorse. You'd load tools into the back of it. You'd use it to move furniture. Whatever you do, this is kind of the compromise here, is that you can buy this Transporter, if you like, and you can utilise it to look good, to look sporty, and kind of tick all the boxes that a daily should, really. But then that brings me on to the other side of it, which is that this is so nice now, it almost feels a shame to drive it. In fact, one of the things I've noticed whilst driving this is I've been pretty terrified to drive it, in all honesty, because it's a big vehicle. Most of the roads around where I live are quite narrow. There's been certain places where I thought about and thought, actually, you know what, I won't go there because there isn't enough room, or I'm a bit worried about catching the front splitter. And yeah, it kind of, I guess in time, if it was my own vehicle, it'd be slightly different. But it does almost feel as if this is too nice to use as its intended purpose, which would be to be a practical everyday vehicle that you could use for tools and, you know, as part of a trade, if you like. Because of the modified suspension, slightly modified suspension, because of the coilovers, the van actually rides a bit firmer than I think a normal T6 would, but it's by no means uncomfortable. It's actually, for me, I'm not, you know, too long in the tooth yet, so I think that it's actually quite a good compromise. I am more than happy to drive around in something that's a little bit firmer if it means it's going to look like this. And I mean, it looks pretty badass, you have to admit. As far as vans go, I think this is probably the coolest thing you can buy, period. I mean, I don't think there's anything else out there at the minute that you can buy that will tick all the boxes that the T6 does. It's quite surprising. I mean, I think this is the top of the range, or the most powerful version they do from factory, which is the, as I said, 199 PS, 2 litre TDI, 7-speed DSG box, and it goes really well. The whole 2 litre TDI with the DSG box just makes perfect sense for a daily. In a vehicle like this, I don't really want to be buggering around with gear changes. It doesn't really interest me. I mean, having a manual might make sense in some applications, but for me, I can't really think of one when I've got a van. These days, DSG boxes are so good, it doesn't make sense to have anything else really, unless you really, really want a manual for some specific reason, or if you just hate automatics. We load a bit more up in it, I'm sure it's going to be a bit slower, but at the moment, with nothing in the back, as you can see, it flies. I dare say it actually, with the suspension and with the brakes, the decent tyres, the Pilot Sport 4s, which I haven't mentioned yet, you could actually have a little bit of a blast down a B road in this. It's a really, really quick van actually. Yeah, it's impressive. Definitely impressive. Anyway guys, I think I've probably ranted and talked a load of waffle for far too long, as always. So, I'll leave it there. A massive thank you to OEM Plus for lending me this van to review. Again, it's their van. It's going to, next year, you're going to see it a lot more. We're hoping to go, Corona pending, to a lot more car shows, and we're going to bring this along. We're going to bring the trailer. We're going to bring Clio FU, which is a high boost sunflower yellow phase 1 Clio, which I haven't shown anyone yet. I will soon. That's going to be a cool reveal. We reckon that will probably be one of the most powerful phase 1 Clios ever. We're aiming for big numbers, so north of 500 like the Golf R that you saw, and yeah, that's going to be epic. But anyway, thanks for watching. Subscribe for more content coming soon.